love you. I hunger for you.
The way the afterlife works in Coco is that dead people are allowed to visit the land of the living on the Day of the Dead, but only if their family has put up a photograph of them. This is a rule that exists only in the movie, by the way, not the actual holiday, in case you were worried that photo of Graham on the mantle was a fully functioning portal to the afterlife that nobody told you about.
I was acting.
And unfortunately, Hector's family doesn't appear to have any photographs of Hector, and he's afraid his daughter will forget him and he'll disappear completely. That's a sweet-ish way of looking at how the afterlife works, as long as it's the modern day, or you're very wealthy. See, nowadays, our phones alone could revive every random stranger that we've ever met in a bar in the last 10 years, but even just 100 years ago, photographs were expensive as hell. And family photos were only common for the fancy upper class. And even when a family was able to scrape enough money together to purchase a photograph of a loved one, there wasn't really a way to produce tons and tons of copies. So in Coco, if you lose that one photograph, your relative is banished for all eternity. If your clumsy kid accidentally drops it somewhere, well, goodbye forever, Aunt Brenda. And how did it all work before photographs were invented? Were the dead trapped forever, or could they be summoned via painting? And did it have to be a perfectly lifelike painting? Or could you enter the land of the living with a drawing that you scribbled with a crayon on a Burger King napkin? Because even these days, a realistic portrait will set you back like $15,000. So basically, no matter how you look at it, through most of history, the Day of the Dead was a celebration of rich dead people. Dead poor people needed to accept that they never get to see their living children and or grandchildren again, unless they happen to become the protagonist of a Pixar film or something. Oh, speaking of dead things, remember that time Disney killed a cartoon lion and it ruined everyone?
Nobody knows.
A whole generation of children developed an irrational fear of antelopes thanks to Mufasa's brutal death scene in The Lion King. Once Simba leaves his father's corpse, that's the last we ever see of Mufasa, discounting his brief return as a sky giant ghost to give a little pep talk.
You have failed me for the last time.
And while Mufasa's death kickstarts Simba's journey towards becoming a king and many 90s kids' downward spirals into depression and substance abuse, Simba never really gets any final closure.
Bad things happen, and you can't do anything about it, right?
Right.
We never see Simba bury the body, though it's not like lion's paws are really that great at digging proper graves in the first place. And by the time Simba returns, he either refuses to go look for his father's mangled skeleton, or he's blocked out the memory of where it all went down. As far as the audience knows, Mufasa has turned into grass and currently exists as gazelle down by the watering hole. How long do you think Mufasa's big, meaty lion carcass was able to lay baking in the sun in a land that's now run by hyenas? You know, the same hyenas Mufasa forced to starve. See, if there's one thing hyenas love more than dismembering lions, it's eating dead things. You can find evidence of that on the internet, but I am not going to show it. And the point is, there's basically a pretty good chance that Mufasa's bloated corpse became lunch for Whoopi Goldberg, is my point.
Whoa.
As for the non-edible parts of his body, well, it might not be a coincidence that we later see Mufasa's trusted advisor get trapped in a ribcage that's suspiciously close to the size of a lion's torso, like Mufasa's lion torso specifically. If you think about that, that's like if Joe Biden had forced Mike Pence to live in a tent made out of Trump's skin behind the White House. So there's a mental image for the rest of your week.
No, anything but that.
And speaking of messed up, horrifying mental images,
The 60s weren't good to you, were they?
the world of Cars is pretty much exactly like our own, all the way down to the exact same wars. For example, there's one character, Sarge,
When I'm finished with you, you'll have places you didn't know you had.
who is an army jeep built for war, specifically World War II. His primary purpose was slashing the tires and fuel lines of German panzers. According to the Blu-ray extras, Sarge loves talking about his World War II days, like the time his tank friend lost his track in the Battle of the Bulge and Sarge had to tow him to safety. That means even the battles in Cars are the same. And in fact, Sarge's license plate refers to the year of the Pearl Harbor attack. The same year, America officially became part of the war effort and presumably drafted most males with at least 18,000 miles on them.
Smash her just right to win your way out.
Apart from the fact that it was fought entirely by motor vehicles, everything about World War II appears to be exactly the same, which very strongly implies that all of the atrocities of World War II also happened, only to cute, whimsical cars. Nazi Volkswagens rounding up poor innocent Opels and sending them to the scrap heap, vintage Mazdas, their paint still scarred with radiation burns some 60 years after the Nagasaki and Hiroshima bombings. Even airplanes are sentient in this universe, which means some of them personally dropped those bombs. Picture it, cutesy cartoon bombers all screwed up inside, trying to drink away the screams and failing.
After that, I just couldn't bring myself to fly again.
Always failing.
So don't be surprised if Cars 4 sports an oblique reference to a global pandemic exacerbated by Ford F-150s refusing to replace their air filters or whatever. That might sound a bit dark for a kid's movie, but that's starting to kind of sound like Disney's whole thing.
I think I touched a nerve.